The story centers on a man named Yossi Ginsberg, an Israeli traveler who has dedicated his life to exploring some of the most beautiful and remote places on Earth. This time, his journey has brought him to the vibrant city of La Paz, Bolivia. While riding a boat, Yossi meets a man named Marcus Stam. Marcus is a Swiss schoolteacher who is taking an extended break from work to enjoy a long vacation and see more of the world.
Yossi Ginsberg.
Ever since that introduction, they became close friends and spent a lot of time talking together.
Morning. She likes you. I'm never going back.
One day, while heading into downtown, Yossi ran into another friend of Marcus named Kevin Gale, a fellow traveler and photographer. The three of them later stopped by a bar to grab some drinks and hang out.
Incredible photographs.
The next day, while Yossi was by himself, he was approached by a man named Carl. Carl offered to take him to a place where the Takana tribe lives, the last remaining indigenous tribe in the Bolivian Amazon rainforest. He described their home as a hidden paradise, a place few outsiders have ever seen. Hearing Carl's story, Yossi, a true adventurer at heart, was immediately intrigued. To him, this sounded like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. He returned to the hostel and told Marcus and Kevin all about the Takana tribe. He even invited them to join him on the journey. But at first they didn't believe him and thought he was just joking. Determined to convince them, Yossi arranged for Kevin and Marcus to meet Carl in person. During the meeting, Carl confidently explained the route and promised Kevin that he would have the chance to capture rare, once-in-a-lifetime photographs. After Carl's passionate and detailed explanation, Kevin and Marcus, who had initially been skeptical, finally felt convinced and committed to making the trip to visit the Takana tribe. Before setting out, they bought supplies for the journey, including some stamina-boosting medicine. That night, as they prepared for the adventure, Yossi shared a story about a small book his uncle had once given him, a book he now considers his good luck charm. The next day, Carl led Marcus, Yossi, and Kevin to a remote area called Apollo. The region was still incredibly wild. As far as the eye could see, there was nothing but dense, endless jungle. Their first destination was Azariamas, a small village hidden deep in the heart of the Amazon rainforest.
Say a joke. They're far ahead of us. They don't want what we have.
Kevin is getting you too.
Get them.
Rain.
Look, in rainy season, this is a light shower.
Bet you can talk to the animals too, yeah?
After days of trekking, they finally arrived at the village, and all the exhaustion they had felt suddenly seemed worth it. They took a refreshing swim and spent the evening enjoying the warmth and hospitality of the local villagers.
It tastes better than this.
Morning came and they continued their journey. Along the way, they discovered small gold nuggets and a cluster of beautiful butterflies. Not long after, a primate appeared, swinging through the trees above them. In that very moment, Carl raised his gun and shot it, and the animal fell to the ground. That night, they cooked and ate the primate's meat. Since it was a completely new experience for them, they were surprised by how much they actually enjoyed it.
We did. It's good.
The next day, while they were on the trail, a serious problem came up. Marcus's feet were badly injured from the long journey and the steep, rugged terrain. Because of his condition, their progress slowed down, even though they needed to reach the Takana tribe's location before the rainy season arrived.
I'm sorry that I can't keep up. Nothing's changed.
As Marcus's injuries grew worse, it became almost impossible for him to continue. Seeing the situation, Carl decided they should stop the expedition and focus on healing Marcus's feet. He then suggested that once Marcus recovered, they should turn back and return to the village of Azariamas. Hearing this, Kevin and Yossi strongly disagreed. After coming this far, they refused to go back. Kevin then came up with another idea. They could build a raft and travel down the river instead. The plan sounded risky and challenging, but it seemed like the only way to keep moving forward. In that moment, Marcus agreed to the idea. However, Carl clearly looked uncertain about the plan.
You know? Thanks, man.
The raft was finally finished, and they immediately climbed aboard. At first, everything felt calm and relaxed, but as soon as the raft drifted into stronger currents, the mood quickly shifted, and the tension rose.
What about the rocks over there?
Stay in the middle, okay? Come on. To the left.
Following Carl's instructions, they paddled with all their strength. In that intense moment, Carl kept giving the wrong directions, and Kevin, growing more and more frustrated, finally snapped and yelled at him. By then, the situation had become chaotic and out of control. In the end, they decided to steer the raft toward the riverbank and pull over.
After what happened on the raft, Kevin began to suspect that Carl couldn't actually swim. Carl, who usually seemed calm and composed, had suddenly looked panicked while they were out on the water. Once things settled down, they planned to continue the journey by raft, but Carl decided he wouldn't go any farther and said he would return to Apollo instead. Hearing his decision left the three of them feeling torn and uncertain. They sat down to talk it through and tried to find a middle ground. In the end, they agreed that Carl and Marcus would head back to Apollo, while Yossi and Kevin would continue the journey on their own.
So full of shit. Men of action.
Leg to the kaka. Ready?
Without wasting time, Kevin and Yossi climbed back onto the raft. Even though it was just the two of them now, they were confident they could reach their destination and overcome whatever obstacles lay ahead. Thanks to their strong teamwork, Kevin and Yossi managed to push through the powerful river currents, giving them a brief moment to relax and catch their breath.
The next day, they were relaxing and taking in the natural beauty around them. Not long after, they reached a stretch of river with extremely powerful rapids. Panic set in, and they desperately tried to paddle the raft toward the shore. Unfortunately, the current was far too strong this time, and they lost control of the raft. It slammed into a large rock and became stuck. Kevin immediately jumped into the water and swam toward the riverbank, while Yossi stayed on the raft, trying to protect their belongings from being swept away. But suddenly, disaster struck. The raft Yossi was on was violently thrown off balance. He was carried several yards downstream, and his head slammed against a rock. Thankfully, he remained conscious and managed to grab onto a rock to steady himself. Then, summoning every ounce of strength he had left, Yossi fought his way through the current and swam toward the shore. Now Yossi had survived the danger of the river. Slowly, he began walking along the riverbank, hoping he would find his backpack that had been swept away. After searching for quite some time, he finally managed to find it. His body was completely drained, so he took some of the stamina-boosting medicine he had bought before the journey. Once he regained a bit of strength, Yossi started walking again to look for Kevin. But unfortunately, even after covering quite a distance, he still couldn't find him.
Kevin! Kevin!
After that, Yossi opened his map and continued on his journey. His destination was a place called Kudi Playa, which he believed was where the Chicana tribe was located. Night eventually fell, and because it was too dark to keep going, Yossi decided to rest. During the night, he suddenly heard someone calling his name. It was Marcus standing right in front of him. But in an instant, Marcus disappeared, and Yossi realized he had only been hallucinating. Morning came, and by then, Yossi had been alone in the jungle for a full week. Soon after, he began to feel something moving inside his head. The pain was unbearable. Desperate and unable to stand it any longer, he gathered the courage to cut into his own scalp. After treating his wound, Yossi continued on his journey. Along the way, he noticed a tree stump that had clearly been cut down by someone. Seeing that sign gave him hope. It made him believe the Takana tribe's location must be close. Not long after, he came across a bird's nest with several eggs inside. Overwhelmed by hunger, Yossi ate the eggs, even though they were close to hatching.
He kept moving forward until he finally came across a village. He believed it was Kiri Playa, the place where the Takana tribe was supposed to live. But the village was in ruins, and it looked like it had been abandoned for a very long time. Yossi felt deeply disappointed. He opened his map again, and this time he decided he would head toward Ruanabake instead. The problem was, Ruanabake was very far away, and by now his feet were in even worse condition than Marcus's had been.
Sorry, Marcus, I was more scared than you.
The next day, as he was walking, Yossi noticed a set of footprints. For a moment, he felt a surge of hope. It meant someone else might be nearby. But then he spotted the broken bird eggs he had eaten earlier. That's when he realized the footprints were his own. The truth hit him hard. All this time, he had been walking in circles. His journey had led him right back to the same place, making all his effort feel painfully pointless. Yossi suddenly found himself thinking back to what had happened at home. He remembered his father yelling at him, furious because Yossi refused to continue his education and chose instead to become a traveler. Night fell and heavy rain poured down relentlessly. Exhausted after walking all day, he found shelter and tried to sleep, clutching the small book his uncle had given him. As he drifted off, he began to dream. In his dream, he won big in a gambling game. After that, he was invited to sleep with a beautiful woman. But just before reaching the climax of his dream, Yossi was abruptly awakened.
Somewhere else along the river, a man discovered an injured person lying on the riverbank. It turned out to be Kevin. Without hesitation, the man carried him to a nearby village called Ruanabake. A few days later, after Kevin had recovered enough to move around, he went to see a forest ranger named Armando to ask for help in searching for Yossi. Meanwhile, Yossi, while taking a drink from the river, spotted a plane flying overhead. He quickly began shouting for help, but Kevin, who was on that very plane, couldn't see any sign of Yossi because the aircraft was flying too high. When Kevin returned, Armando told him that searching for Yossi would be pointless. Based on his calculations, Yossi had already been in the jungle for 3 weeks, and it was almost certain he was dead. Hearing those words, Kevin refused to believe it and made up his mind. He would search for Yossi on his own. After that, Kevin sought out a man named Tico, someone known for his deep knowledge of the rivers in the Amazon rainforest. Kevin begged Tico to help him navigate the river by boat to look for Yossi, but like Armando, Tico believed the search would only end in disappointment. Kevin didn't care. He kept pleading for help, and eventually, moved by his determination, Tico agreed to join the search.
Por favor, please.
The next day, as he continued walking, Yossi began hallucinating again. Without realizing it, he wandered into quicksand. Slowly, his body started sinking into the mud. Refusing to give up, Yossi desperately searched for something to grab onto, and after a terrifying struggle, he managed to pull himself to safety.
Stay with
Soon after, he came across a tree covered in fire ants. He instantly knew that if those ants bit him, the pain would be unbearable. It could even kill him. Then something completely unexpected happened. Yossi took off his clothes and deliberately exposed himself to the ants. The effects of the bites were excruciating. Overwhelmed by the pain, Yossi began hallucinating again and ran wildly through the jungle without any sense of direction. Without realizing it, he eventually reached the riverbank. There, he used a stick to carve a large letter Y into the ground, hoping someone would find the sign.
The next day, Kevin and Tico stopped at a certain spot along the river. Tico decided to call off the search because the current was too strong to continue safely.
¿Qué pasa? Hiciste todo lo que podías.
Unbelievably, the sign Yossi had made was right there, but tragically, Kevin didn't notice it. Meanwhile, Yossi, who had fallen asleep nearby, suddenly woke up when he heard Kevin's voice. He quickly rushed to look, and sure enough, Kevin was preparing his boat to leave. Not wanting to miss his chance, Yossi jumped up and called out to him. Without wasting any time, Kevin and Tico brought Yossi back to Ruinabake, where the villagers gathered and offered prayers of gratitude for his miraculous survival.
Guess you're trying to stay strong and fake a smile until I look away. But I've known you too long, it hurts to watch your blue eyes fade to gray as you fade away. As you fade away.
Yeah, I'm about to fade away, cause every time I wake up I feel like it's Monday. Something's going wrong with all the chemicals up in my brain. All of a sudden I don't look at anything the same way. Got a buildup of my thoughts sitting in an ashtray. I'm sorry that I'm so inconvenient, okay. Just let me be me and I'll stay out of your way. I can see the way you look at me, I'm such a disgrace. I never really asked to be